Bishop Trevor Williams is on a mission. He's trying to work out what role the church should play in an increasingly secular Irish society.
If the church sees its own preservation as the only thing it's about, I think that's a very sad existence.
Since Trevor Williams became the Church of Ireland Bishop of Limerick and Killaloe, he's found that his position puts barriers between him and the people he serves.
The people that Jesus really had it in for were the religious leaders of his day. And now, being one of them, that is a hugely humbling thing that I need to bring myself back to all the time.
In last week's programme, he ditched the crozier and the mitre to go undercover as a hands-on television reporter. He wanted to find out, without deference or prejudice, about the needs of ordinary people.
Certainly, not being dressed up as a bishop makes it easier when you start off conversations. I think all of the paraphernalia and rig out of a bishop sort of says, gosh, this is a person who thinks they're much more important than I am, and who wants to meet a person like that, yeah.
Now he wants to give something back to the people who inspired him.
This is the gym. I see this, with glass up there, new roof.
He hopes to learn from a church that is very different from his own.
Some of our normal Church of Ireland people just coming in here might find this a little bit off-putting.
And he wants to show young people that they can have a voice in the church.
It wasn't just an act, it wasn't just a kind of a stunt. It was just something meaningful for you, was it? Yeah.
But keeping his real identity under wraps will prove a challenge.
Are you a priest?
I've always wanted to wear one of these. Gosh, is that how you do it?
Oh, lovely, it suits you.
Bishop Trevor Williams presides over 64 churches and 2 cathedrals, but fewer than 3,000 parishioners.
Isn't that amazing? These places are full of surprises. Well, here you are. Here's Limerick.
The Church of Ireland was once a powerful institution, but is now a minority faith on the fringes of society.
I think the Church of Ireland is facing an amazing opportunity and an amazing challenge at the moment. I think all Christian denominations, all religious, all formal structures and institutions indeed, have to prove their worth. My goodness, you got the old and the new, you got medieval quarter on the one hand, and then you have Thomond Park as well over there. Fantastic.
Some of the oldest and most beautiful buildings in the country are the Church of Ireland's. But it is a church in decline. Today, less than 3% of the population are Anglican, and not all of them go to church.
I think on this journey, I'm hoping for 2 things. I'm hoping to learn a lot from the community that will actually help us to know how to be church better. I do believe the church has something to offer. I'm hoping that either in the short term or the long term, it might be a means by which we'll be able to make the church more relevant and closer to people.
While Bishop Trevor's congregation is shrinking, others are growing. So he's come to an evangelical Pentecostal church in Limerick, where there's standing room only.
They're very much more open about their emotions. Some people might say they wear their heart on the sleeve a bit.
Lord, I pray that when you hear that cry, when she directs that to you, you leap off that throne of yours.
But if you don't quite feel that emotion, and you can feel very strange. So I imagine some of our normal Church of Ireland people just coming in here might find this a little bit off-putting. I might find it a little bit off-putting, in fact, because I'm not used to it.
Antioch was called the Antioch.
By slipping into the back row, the bishop hopes to learn why so many flock to a type of worship very different from his own church.
But we're about to discover that no matter what religions or ethnic groups or cultural groups are there, the more the gospel flourishes.
Pastor Kevin Fitzgibbon has been a leading member of the Abundant Life Church since its foundation in 1995.
Breeds love for the church. We would believe that if we're sick, let's pray for one another. We believe in healing. We believe God speaks to us today. He says, my sheep hear my voice. We don't throw out tradition, but we try and make the church as relevant as possible to the men in the street.
What's your hopes for the future?
Hopes for the future is that we will grow the church to 1,000 people. We believe there's a hunger in Limerick, there's a hunger in Ireland, because people are disillusioned with the church. They need to see something authentic, real. We don't want this to be a church where people just come in on a Sunday and go out again.
Do you think actually the churches are going to become stronger?
Yes, I do.
Why do you think that?
I sort of feel there is a revival of the Spirit of God coming. But it's not religious people. It's people who just are in love with Jesus and pass that news on.
I think it would take some time for me just to get used to this style of worship. And yes, I can't but admit they have a real contribution to make. They're really doing something important. They're connecting, obviously, with people very seriously. And I think we have a lot to learn from that.
If you're a visitor here this morning...
More than 140 people from 25 different nationalities gather in the church on Sundays. John O'Brien was introduced to this church by his Congolese wife.
I've been brought up in Catholic homes, so my parents would have always went to Mass on Sundays and stuff like that. So I went through stages of I believe in God and I don't believe in God.
How important was the sense of welcome?
I think it was very important. What I saw as well was a genuine, these people, what they're saying is actually what they're believing, I remember just feeling like I belong here, Now I think my whole focus and my whole attention has changed that it's not really about my life anymore, but it's about, what God wants to do in my life and through my life.
Kevin, thank you very much indeed.
Trevor.
That was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I did, yeah, indeed. No, I really did.
Okay, thanks for taking the time out. It's a busy schedule.
Oh, it's great. Great what you're doing. Bless you. Yeah, indeed.
Thank you.
Fantastic. You in your small corner, me in mine, eh? That's right. Okay. I'm not expecting that Church of Ireland will ever become Abundant Life, right? That's not going to happen. Enjoyed that this morning, very much. Thank you. I was really impressed by the welcome I received, and I think that's really, for me, that's one of the most impressive things. I mean, you met people there, and it's almost as if you knew them all your life. It really was geared, really, not to carrying on a tradition, but actually, I mean, it was about encountering who God is now, what Jesus means to people's everyday lives. Pretty powerful stuff.
It can be easy for a church leader to get caught up maintaining the institution and buildings, rather than reaching out to people in their community.
This isn't too bad, though I think they've had some trouble here. There's always leaks. While the towers look lovely, they are actually an awful bother. In this part of the world, the Church of Ireland population has been declining decade upon decade for, for centuries, I think. There was a time, because of our association, I suppose, as the established church under British rule, when we were not flavour of the month. There's a bit of having to, in the past, of having to keep your head down. We have actually been trained into survival. How do we survive as a very small group? Whoops. Am I seeing something? Is that something to do with water? Probably so.
But some Church of Ireland people are working with the wider community.
So this is it. Great. Oh, yeah. There's a good number of people here.
In last week's programme, Bishop Trevor visited the Kenmare Men's Shed. It was set up by Church of Ireland rector Michael Kavanagh for men to build boats and forge new friendships. But none of the locals realised the new man in the shed was a bishop.
It's good because, you know what I mean, it keeps people's interest up and things like that, you know, because the place is kind of, you know, a lot of the work and things has dried up and all.
All right.
Michael Kavanagh hopes to create a permanent home for the boat building project.
So at the moment what we're doing is we're looking to get bids and costings for how much it would cost just to refurbish this completely. Space for the shed, perhaps even make the boat repair business a commercial venture, you know.
Bishop Trevor has been inspired by how the men's shed fills a void in the lives of many isolated and lonely men. It's also a new and practical way of being church.
This is a church, but a different kind of church.
How interesting. We shouldn't be surprised if we actually encounter a sense of God in the men's shed where people are working together. Really making a difference, really transforming their society. In fact, they're behaving in a very Christian and in a way that I think is a model to the church.
Now the bishop wants to give something back to the Kenmare men. He's invited them to see another project he's involved with. The AK Island Boat Building School was set up in one of Limerick's most disadvantaged areas.
It's oozing creativity, this place. I've just found it so inspirational. It's the heart of kind of real creativity and the can-do attitude. Folks, welcome, great, good to see you all.
He hopes it will fire their imagination and offer valuable boat building contacts and resources.
Fantastic, good, hi. Great, hi Ken, hi, good, yeah, good to see you.
The bishop has also decided to break his cover.
I'm the local Church of Ireland bishop here in Limerick and down your area and up in Killaloe as well. I really enjoyed the trip down to see the men's shed in Kenmare, and I thought, when I came back, that I'd love you guys to just let you have a look, at another place that perhaps is a couple of months, maybe a couple of years ahead of where you are, and hopefully you'll be inspired by what you see. So come on in. Right. So here's one I prepared earlier, actually.
Just trying to figure out, is this a bit longer than ours? Lengthwise, I don't know, just trying to figure this out.
We'll just catch that side and we'll just roll this down.
James Madigan is a Curragh expert who teaches many different groups at the boat building school.
If you like. So if you want to, if you just catch that side.
We deal with kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. A lot of the kids have been state care. We've got a group from Focus Ireland. The project itself is just a medium to something greater, I think. It's just the meeting point. But it's just the way people interact with each other, I think, that is what's important. I suppose they're developing basic woodwork skills, but they're also developing themselves.
These guys are from the South Hillman shed, and this is a project that they're working on. So it's a little plywood dinghy.
How do you think this relates to what you're doing in Kenmare?
Well, the possibility, I suppose, if we can carry on, that there's a great chance, as the fellow said, that we can improve on things, you know what I mean, because ours is only in its infancy, Michael has a great, you know what I mean, he's great going. I haven't met anybody like him, you know what I mean, as the fellow said, a churchman. They generally, the most of them that we have known, sat back and enjoyed their luxury. That's not the way.
The first time I came here I was inspired, and I'm even more inspired. And you could tell by the reaction from the guys that these guys are going back, and we can't wait to get back to building that Curragh and the next boat and the boat after that. We've got the possibility of this gym which we can restore. If that happens, sky's the limit.
My God, all the best. Thanks. Take care. Drive well. Cheers. Bye-bye. There's nothing better than to see people achieving things that they never thought were possible. And it's amazing what can actually happen when you bring people together and just join the dots, if you like, whole new possibilities emerge.
Across town, near Moyross, is another project where people give something back to their community. The St Munchin's Family Resource Centre was originally set up by Salesian nuns, but is now run by local people. When Bishop Trevor first spent a morning volunteering in the Meals on Wheels kitchen, the staff had no idea he was a bishop.
Hello. Trevor's my name. How are you? Great. Great. Not so sure what this is about here.
Oh, you get all shapes.
You know, I think that old age, or growing old, is probably one of the most difficult things that we ever face in life. Because you're having to let go things that you've been doing all your lives and no longer able to do it. And that's
just to know your limits then.
I know.
We've an awful lot of widow women, you know, that the husbands have gone before them. And then it's hard, like when they no longer have the big pot with dinner to cook and, you know. So the day is too long for them.
Great.
Bishop Trevor has spent the day undercover. But by the end, one of the kitchen staff is suspicious about their new volunteer.
So are you a priest?
What would make you think that?
I don't know, I get that from you.
Do you?
I was thinking about you all morning and then it just came to me. I said, he's a religious man.
I am, you're right and maybe not so right, because I am a priest, but I'm also a bishop.
Wow.
But a Church of Ireland bishop.
Oh, very nice.
There you are.
Lovely.
Did you know we had a bishop in the kitchen all morning with us?
A bishop?
Where?
You're a bishop?
Yeah, that's what.
Your surname is Bishop? No.
Trevor Bishop, yes.
I just knew it. I just said it to my I swear he's a priest.
And it wasn't because you never peeled potatoes before.
Very good.
Personal faith is still important for most people in Ireland, but institutional religion has lost its grip. Young people in particular are turning away from the church. In last week's programme, Bishop Trevor went undercover in St Anne's Community College in Killaloe to find out why young people are turned off by religion. His cover was a TV documentary, so the students thought they were talking to a reporter, not a bishop.
What was the main reason why you no longer find going to church something you want to do?
It's boring.
It's boring.
It's really outdated. You have to remember like all the stuff the priest did to like children and like adults growing up. Like.
Bishop Trevor appreciated the students' honesty, but realised that many still have a spiritual need.
It helped me through a lot of things, like, and if I didn't have that, then I don't know what I'd do.
Hello, Greg. I was down at St Anne's. I had a very good conversation with them, but quite honestly, I'm feeling that to take it a stage further, a bit out of my depth. So
now he wants to reconnect the students with a faith that he believes can contribute to their lives. And he knows someone who might be able to do just that.
Like I said, my name is Greg. I'm originally from... Oh, very good, Chicago. Oh, that's a bit too specific. Kind of creeping me out there a little bit.
Bishop Trevor has used his connections to bring Greg from Three Rock Youth to hold a religious workshop for the students. Greg and his team specialise in making religion accessible to teenagers.
We're trying to get to know you, and we're actually helping you guys figure out who you are, what your identity is. Because teenagers like yourselves are expressing your opinions. You guys will eventually change the way that faith is practiced in this country.
Know that you're an individual. Know that, not necessarily we have to be part of the gang.
While Bishop Trevor stays out of sight, Susie Keane from Three Rock Youth gives the students practical tasks which encourages them to think about their identity and how faith relates to their lives.
I'm a member of the Red Cross and it's a big part of my life, so I said I'd put it in.
I don't know, just colourful and stuff. Be bubbles, because I'm bubbly.
That painting made you think about yourself.
Yeah.
It made us think about what's important to us and we could try put it on the card or whatever.
No, I'm not insulting the last guy that was here the last day, but no, poor Trevor. It was easier to talk to these guys now because they're younger and more fun and stuff. When the other time it was just kind of more structured.
Okay. Bishop Trevor is keen to see how the students are getting on and to reveal who he really is.
You might remember the next person who was here a few weeks ago. So let's welcome Bishop Trevor Williams.
Hello, welcome. Good to be with you again. I don't know whether you recognise this gear, do you? Well, the gear is of a Church of Ireland bishop. Did anyone guess that I was a bishop? Because you might have seen me before somewhere, did you? And I bet you told all your mates, did you? No, you didn't tell anyone. Right. Well, that was good. No, the reason I do that is that actually, if you dress up like this, people tend to respond in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? They say, well, you know, gosh, I'm not comfortable being around bishops or whatever else, and what would I say if I was speaking to a bishop, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I hope you don't think there's any kind of trick in that. It wasn't meant to be a trick. It was meant to be a way in which we could meet just as people and have a good conversation together. And certainly I learned an awful lot from the conversation that we had together from you, and I want to thank you, each of you, for that. Do you ever get frustrated, I suppose, with the church in terms of how difficult young people find it to relate to what it normally does?
Yeah, most definitely. We need to stop and interrupt ourselves and say, what are we actually doing right here, right now? And so I get frustrated with church because it almost seems like the questions have to be left outside.
And I want you to think about something in your life that was maybe quite pivotal for you, like a good memory. I want you to think about, did it have any effect on you, and how does it have an effect on you?
When my mum got sick, it made me realise not to take things for granted.
When my senior cycle came around, I moved to St. Anne's because I had family here. But I ended up making a load of new friends, and I don't know, it was the first time I actually felt like I fit in.
The Leinster football final, I know it might sound like much, but Westmeath won it for the first time in a long time.
It doesn't take much for a church to turn inside out and face outwards. There just seems to be you tell me, what's stopping us from doing that?
I suppose what's stopping us from doing that is people have an expectation of what church is.
Okay.
And they've also liked the way church is for them.
Okay. I'm not sure if the majority of churchgoers have figured out that what they're learning in church is not just for them to hang on to, it's for them to actually give away. And I truly believe that if the church can just stop long enough, let go of the fear, let go of the control, and engage in where society and culture is at today, they're going to find God already at work. We just need to get stuck in there. If God was standing right here before you, and he's not because it's me, but if God was standing right here before you, what would you say to him? What would you say to God if he was standing right here, right now? Would you shout at him? Would you ask him a question? Would you say you loved him?
For the last part of the workshop, Greg asks the students to write a message to God, which they attach to helium balloons.
I just said to help me do my best.
I said, say hi to my granny and granddad.
Watch me, and who really are you? What do you do when we're finished writing?
Great. It's quite exciting. Everyone's kind of, balloons, yeah.
Okay, everybody, now listen up. Don't let go of them yet. Not yet, not yet. We have to cut some people free from their balloons, first of all. Okay, I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3. We're going to release on 3. Already? 1, 2, 3.
Young people today get a lot more out of things, doing stuff like this, instead of sitting down and being, told what to believe in and just handed down certain material. I think this has made it a lot more personal.
Yeah. It wasn't just an act, it wasn't just kind of a stunt. It was just something meaningful for you, was it?
Yeah. Made, reminded you of what faith was about, your beliefs, not anybody else's.
That's for God to help me do my best, and see if he answers.
There's great sadness for me in it, though, that as a church, very often we don't reach those parts that the balloons could reach.
Well, if there is a God, he's getting a message from me anyway. And
I don't think that the church at the moment, in its present form, has all the answers. I think we're at a critical moment in time. We need to really engage with what people, not only young people, but what people are saying about their life today.
On this journey, Bishop Trevor Williams put aside his crozier and mitre in search of inspiration for the future of the church. In doing so, he found God already at work in the community.
We've so much to learn from people who are different from ourselves, because none of us have all the answers, and unless we're willing to learn alongside them, they won't come near us as a church. And why should they? And see those spuds, I peeled them myself.
Yeah, there you go, don't worry, go
I can preach about the Good Samaritan. I know all of that, it pales into insignificance compared to someone actually doing it and actually showing this is how I want to live.
I did that, yes. I did it more.
One of the things I've learned during this journey is the fact that God is at work in the community. God is out there doing things, and it is the church's job to get out there and discover what church is doing and join in. That's the message I come away with from my pilgrimage and my retreat in the community.